Are you looking for a color LED light bulb that can be controlled via an application, voice assistant, and is dimmable? Then you're in the right place. Tapo makes a great deal of smart home tech, including color LED light bulbs. Could the L530E be what you're looking for? I'm Wanderer 001. Let's get into it. Starting things off, even though this is a smart bulb, it is still a light bulb, so we're just going to talk about some general specs of the light itself. This particular version is the E26 standard US base, which will fit most residential sockets. Coming up, we have our heatsink / Wi-Fi housing. The heatsink does very well, and in my testing, it doesn't get terribly hot. I did clock it in at 135 degrees Fahrenheit, right around the lip here, but that was after being on for 8 hours. The normal heat range that I got throughout the heatsink itself was between 90 degrees and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, nothing terrible, especially when you compare it to other smart LED light bulbs. Coming up to our dome, this is a plastic dome. You don't have to worry, it's not going to shatter on you. And the LEDs, I do like the way that the light dissipates in this because I can't tell if it's an LED ring around this way or if they fire upwards. However, the light beam angle is 220 degrees, which gives a great field of coverage. Speaking of our light from this, you are looking at a 60 watt equivalent, which is, in the case of this Tapo light bulb, 806 lumens. And you have a color temperature range from 2500 Kelvin up to 6500 Kelvin. And this being a color light bulb, you have access to 16 million hues or colors. It is also dimmable through the application from down to 1% up to, as you might imagine, 100%. And because this is a smart light bulb, that means there's a setup process. How easy is it? Let me show you. This is setup of the Tapo Smart Wi-Fi light bulb multicolor L530E. So we're going to start things off by putting it into our light fixture. Here we can see it's actually powered on. Then we're going to come over, it's blinking, which is a good sign. So strobe warning, sorry about that. Come over to our Tapo application in the upper right-hand corner, select the plus sign, and then select add device. We're going to come down to lighting, and then we're going to find our bulb. There is a search function, thankfully, because they got a lot of bulbs. And the closest I could come to find was the L530, not the E. So going to make sure we plugged it in. We did. So it did blink, but we're going to power it off and power it back on again to make sure that it blinks. There are 3 blinks. We're going to select next. And then it wants us to connect to the Wi-Fi of that bulb. So we're going to do that. Connection successful. And Tapo is looking for the smart bulb. And then next we're going to connect to the Wi-Fi network. So I have connected to the Wi-Fi network of the bulb and then told it to stay connected even though there is no internet going through it. Just know you might need to do that as well. And there you can see, found it. It's linked up and it will show the Wi-Fi network that you are currently on and the password in plain text. Tapo, please stop doing that. Just like it showed on the next screen that popped up to confirm that you made sure that your username and password are correct. Maybe if they could do a reviewer mode, that would be nice. Blinking, letting us know it's connecting. It's giving us the option to rename it and we're going to select next. Where is it located? Well, this is going to be in my basement and then we can pick an icon for it. So we're going to say that one. And next, almost done. Check for firmware, have to update. So we're going to do that really quick and everything looks good. So sounds good. It's going to tell it to check for firmware at a specific time of day. We're going to say, got it. And that adds it. And then here we have our switches, but there's our lighting down here. But that's setup of the Tapo Smart Wi-Fi light bulb multicolor L530E. As you saw, very simple to set up, which is great for a smart LED bulb. You don't want it to be terribly difficult to set up, but what else can we do with this light bulb? Well, we can set up groups, create color patterns, and routines. That's all done through the application. Let me show you. This is the application for the Tapo Color LED. Here we can see in the Tapo application on my homepage, I have a quick access panel to the LED. I could turn it on or off, and it's located just to the right of the camera, so you'll see that turn on and off and change color as we go through the review. If I select into it, that's going to bring me into the actual
settings and controls for the light. Here we could see we have an adjustable image for it. We have the name and its location, and then a quick toggle for the power. You can see there's a subtle animation that happens on the screen itself when you power it on and off. As we come down, we have our presets. So here you can have individual preset colors. I've got a couple. As I will cycle through them right there, you could see if I leave it on this purple, you also have the ability to adjust the brightness right from there. We have this A, which is auto mode, which will allow you to automatically compensate and adjust the color temperature for the lack of natural light to ensure that you always have sufficient illumination. This is ideal for outdoor use, but this is an indoor bulb. We have auto match, which will set the color and temperature and brightness based on sunrise and sunset. If we want to add another color to our presets, we select our edit icon, and then we could select any one of these to make a change. So if I have these two purples, I can come in here, I could change the color. Notice we can also have a preset for the brightness and then select save. We could also reorder simply by selecting and then dragging and dropping where we want. We'll leave it at done and then select back. And now if I select my purple, there's my 100% one, and there is my 50%. If we come down to our white or color selection, here we could change the color temperature of a white light, and you can see the Kelvin level right there. If I change this to color, it's going to bring up kind of like a color palette, and we can select what we want. You can see the color changing over there to the right, but you also have this little square letting you know exactly the color that you happen to be on. And you could just drag, and notice if you give it a second, it will change the color. We're going to come back to our white and select my bright white. Notice you don't just change when you select white or color, you actually have to click on something in order for it to make that change. If we come down, here we have our energy use. It's going to show you the runtime for today, energy usage, and then energy saved. This is not actually in real time, because if I use my little button here and we turn it off, that doesn't change. That's not changing because it's energy used throughout the day, not this exact second. And then you have past 7 days and 30 days. This particular LED light hasn't been on. The other one I thought I grabbed has been on longer, but that's where that data is. Coming down, we have theming. So you've got party. I could play that, and now it's changing based on a party. I can also change. Now it's a little more relaxed. I'll pause that. We can edit any one of these themes where we can edit the name, the shift style. So you've got breathing or bold, speed, how quickly we want the changes to happen, and then colors to cycle through, and then brightness setting. That's under our theme. We have our schedule. This will allow us to set up a schedule for during these times, or sunrise and sunset, turn on the LED, or turn off the LED, or fade in and fade out. And then you have your light setting and then days. Keep in mind, if you set up a schedule to turn the light on and you're not going to actively be home, you're going to want to make sure you set up a schedule to turn that off as well. Coming down to timer, this will be how long the device is off for. When the 5-minute timer ends, the device will turn off. Likewise, if I set turn on in 5 minutes of inactivity, it will then turn itself on. Away mode will turn the LED light bulb on and off at random intervals, making it mirror somebody is in the house. You could set up a start time and an end time, and then individual days of the week if you only want to have it during specific times. And then we have our smart actions. Preparing for sleep is one that's on by default, and what this will do is kind of start dimming everything in the house to make it easier for you to get to sleep. We can share the device from here. Somebody will need their own Tapo account. We have Support Center, and then add this to favorites, on or off. If we come to the top of the page here and select our settings, this will allow us to change the device icon, change the device name, change its location, change the default status. This is an important one. When turning on from the application, it will be in its last on state, or we could select customize, and we could set up a color and temperature that we want it to be at. If we leave it at last on, if we had it at red at 100%, that's what it'll come back as. And then this is very important. When power is cut off and returned, how does the device come back? By default, it's on turn on. So when power is restored, whether the device was on or off, it will come back in an on state. If we have this one selected, the device will come back in whatever state it was in. If it was off, it will come back in an off state. And if it was on, it will come back in an on state. Recommend making that change right away. Here we have lights off gradually. So you can select gradually on and gradually off, and then select a duration. So instead of instant on, instant off, you could say, how long do I want this to warm up for? So in my case, we will set this for 5 seconds and then select done. And then if I use my little button here and we turn it on, instead of turning on right away, you can see it's gradually turning on, and we will do that again to give you an idea. Gradually turning on. And now it's at 100%. If I turn that off, this is the difference, right to on. That is a very useful feature, especially if you're using these light bulbs in a bedroom situation. You have groups where you can group several items together. If you have multiple light bulbs, you can group them all together to create a single action that you can have. And then we have our smart actions, which I showed you before, device info, information about the device, and then firmware update. If you need to update the firmware manually, that's where you can come and do it. And that is everything that we can do for the Tapo LED color changing smart light bulb in the Tapo app. As you saw, there is a lot that you can do in the application. This light bulb, as I mentioned earlier, in the heatsink, also contains its Wi-Fi antenna, which operates on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. It is not the faster 5 gigahertz, but you don't need that with something like this. You need it to have longer range, not faster speeds. Tapo is compatible with voice assistants such as Google Home and Alexa. And there's a lot that you can do with the voice assistant. Let me show you what I did for my testing with Alexa. Alexa, turn on Tapo Basement Light 1. Alexa, turn off Tapo Basement Light 1. Alexa, turn on Tapo Basement Light 1, color red. Alexa, lower Tapo Basement Light 1 to 50%. Alexa, set Tapo Basement Light 1 to green. Alexa, set Tapo Basement Light 1 to 100%. Alexa, turn off Tapo Basement Light 1. After voice assistant testing, I like to test anything that consumes power and is on most of the time. In the case of our Tapo Color Smart LED light bulb, when it's plugged in but not turned on, meaning it's just sitting on your Wi-Fi, it uses 0.5 watts of power or less. And then, depending on color, brightness, and hue, is how much power it will use. Let me show you some power usage numbers. Bright white light at max, change the color temperature, goes down. This is all at 100%. We're gonna go back up to the full white. Bright white at 50%, back up to 100. We're gonna do some colors. Green drops down considerably. Blue's even less. Do like a pinkish. Come back over, do a green. Here's an orangish, get like a yellow. We're gonna come over and do our red at 100% because red's always gonna give us the least amount of power. So at max, that's 2.5, and at 50%, 1.5. So not a terrible swing. You're always gonna have the most being your bright white at 100%, maxing out at that 6.6, 6.5, which is not terrible, all things considered. With this being a smart bulb, you may be concerned about the lifespan of the bulb. The Tapo Color LED light bulb here has a 25,000 hour runtime lifespan. That's going to be quite a bit for most people. One of the other tests that I like to run, and you probably saw me point this out when I was doing the application, is what happens when power is lost. The return state of the light bulb is very important, especially if you're keeping them in a place that you sleep. In the case of the Tapo LED smart bulb here, you have a choice as to the return state, whether it returns to its last state, meaning if the bulb was off, it will return to an off state, and if it was on, it will return to an on state, or can be set to return to an on state regardless. I like the fact that Tapo gives you the choice because not a lot of other manufacturers do. Even with there being a lot to like about the Tapo Color LED light bulb, there are a few cons that I wanted to bring to your attention. First being, because this light bulb uses a hubless design, meaning the light bulb itself speaks directly to your Wi-Fi network. If you have a multitude of bulbs or a lot of smart home products on your Wi-Fi and you don't have a router that's capable of handling that many devices, you could run into a problem with the bulb. And the second is a small nitpick for me, which is the energy monitoring. Yes, it has energy monitoring, but it doesn't have live energy monitoring, and I wish it did, and I think that could be changed in a firmware update and a little tweaking to the application. Tapo, I'm talking to you, but that's the one small gripe that I had with this. Overall, Tapo makes a large selection of smart home technology, and I enjoy the ability to have their technology work with each other, triggering lights based on cameras, smart buttons, and contact sensors. The Tapo color LED bulb is a great smart bulb on its own, but is even better with other Tapo smart home technology. So if you're looking for a solid, smart, multicolor, dimmable LED light, I can strongly recommend it. If this sounds like the LED light you've been looking for, I will have a link where you can pick one up for yourself in the description area below. If you appreciate the time and effort that goes into making comprehensive videos like this, make sure to hit that like button to help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here and want to be notified of my next review, hit that subscribe button. Still not sure if this is the right color smart bulb for you? On screen now, you'll see 2 other reviews that I've done to help you make a more informed decision for yourself.